Hey everyone. So when I originally was going to do this video, I was going to use props, get a tank and stuff like that. I decided to go without props because I figured it was pretty self-explanatory. But there are some important things you should know when first setting up a freshwater tank for fish or turtles, some reptiles are like newts and stuff like that. Some important things that you need to know. The first thing being most important that lots of beginners skip is when you first set up a tank, you need to fill it up with water, get your filter running, get your heater running, get everything running. Let the tank run for about a week, at least a week, 7 to 10 days. Then put in one fish. Something like, it depends what type of tank you're doing. If you're doing a cold water tank, something like a guppy. A cold water tank is a tank that has like guppies or goldfish, or some types of newts and frogs like cold water. Some turtles like cooler water. If you're doing a tropical tank with tropical fish but still fresh water, some of the better fish to use after a week is put in like one Danio or one fish. Let that tank go for another week, 7 more days, and then start putting in a couple fish at a time. Every week put in a couple fish. Don't just put in 10 fish at a time. What'll happen is they'll create a lot of waste, you'll be feeding a lot, the water will get bad, and most of them will die. Sometimes all of them will die. It's best to put in a couple at a time so your tank can readjust. There's a chemistry that goes on in your tank, and it needs to readjust every time more fish are taken in so that the system can handle those extra fish. So putting in less at a time is good. So let's go over what you need for a freshwater tank. Well, like I said, you can be doing a cool water tank or a tropical tank, and the only real difference is a heater in the water. Of course, if you do like a turtle tank, you'll need a basking bulb and other stuff, but we're not going to get into that. But really the only difference between a cool water tank, which would house, say, goldfish, guppies, other cool water fish or amphibians, a tank like that needs to be somewhere around 68 to 75 degrees, so your house temperature is usually okay. A tropical tank, which will hold more of the tropical fish, all the things from, tiger barbs, which are really popular, to gourami, uh, I can't even think of all the names, but all the other fish, basically any of the freshwater fish that are not guppies or goldfish type fish. All the other fish are basically tropical fish. And in that type of tank, you'll need a heater, and usually the temperature will be between 75 and 82. Usually it's in that range, but all fish are different. You should research the fish you're getting. Make sure they get along together and make sure their tank requirements are about the same. For a freshwater tank, you should have about one fish at the most per gallon of water. 1 inch of fish per gallon of water. So if you have a 10-gallon tank, you should have 10 inches total of fish. So maybe you have 3 fish that are 3 inches long, and you have a couple other things like a really small frog and maybe a snail or two. That's fine. And it's the same with a tropical or a cool water tank. So other than that, let's go over the things really quick you need to make a freshwater tank. Of course, you need the tank, you need a lid, a light. You don't need any special type of lighting unless you're putting plants in. I actually recommend using the cheapest type of lighting or the worst type of lighting that still gives good light but doesn't give plant growth. If you're looking for no plants in your tank, just plastic plants in your tank. Because the less good light that the tank has, the less algae will grow in it, and that means less cleanup for you. So that's a good thing. So just a cheap light on the top, nothing special. If you're going for no plants, the tank, the lid, a 10-gallon tank. If you're looking for a beginner type setup, a 10-gallon tank with lid, light, everything. I think they'll go for like 35, 40 bucks, maybe even less than that, maybe a little more. But you can get starter kits, even including the filter and stuff, for under 100 bucks. Filter, I really recommend on any tank you do to use double the filtration. I'd recommend buying the tank separately and then buy the filter separate from that. Don't buy a kit, because usually the kits will include a 10-gallon tank with a 10-gallon filter, which you think, oh, it's 10 gallons for 10 gallons, that's good. I'd really recommend using double the filtration. If you have a 10-gallon tank, use a 20-gallon filter. This is going to really help you in cleanup time. It's really going to help your tank stay a lot nicer, a lot cleaner. You're not going to have to be changing out the filter pad every 2 weeks. It might last a month instead. It's less expensive over time, and it really keeps your tank a lot better. So really I recommend getting 2 times the filtration. If you're going to get a hang-on back filter, pretty much any of them are good. The bio wheel ones are great because they give some biofiltration. If you're going to go with an underwater filter, I really recommend the Fluval U4 U filters. I say the U4 because that's the one that I have. There's the U1, U2, U3, and U4. The U1's really small. Wouldn't really recommend it unless you got like a 5-gallon tank. It's rated for I think like 10 gallons, but it's a really small filter. I'd say go with the U2, U3, or U4. U2 or 3 is good for a 30-gallon tank or smaller. U4, 40-gallon tank or smaller. U2 is like 20-gallon tank, but always, like I said, get the better one if you can. The more filtration, the easier it's going to be, the better it's going to be for your fish. So you need the tank, the light, the filter, and other than that, you need just gravel, decorations, and if you got the tropical tank, you need a heater in there. And if you're going to be doing a cool water tank or a turtle tank that needs a heater, I really recommend the plastic heaters. There's all different types of heaters for in tanks out there, and there's plastic ones now that they're kind of made out of a really hard plastic. So if you have a turtle tank and your turtle bumps into the heater, it's not going to break like a glass one would. You got a 1-foot turtle in there bouncing off this heater, it might break if it's glass. So there are plastic ones and metal ones. The plastic ones are better because they don't get quite as hot. They're not as scorching hot. The metal ones, they won't break, but they can get a little hotter. They might burn your turtle or whatever other inhabitants are in the tank. So I think that's about it. If you guys got any questions about setting up a tank, let me know, and happy pet keeping. See you guys later.